Shut up and sit down.
It's where the big boys play. SICW.
Welcome to the Spread Read Podcast, everybody. Episode number 106. I am your host, the original bad boy Nasty Nate. And our stars, the Big Texan Jim Hoffarth and Belleville's own Bobby D. And the special guest today is Dr. Jeremy Housewright. How's it going, everybody?
How's it going, Jeremy?
Good, real good.
So, the reason why we brought you on today is you've done a sequel to your first book, For the
Yes.
Love of the Show.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Is it a continuation of this first book, or is it new people, or both? Or
So it's totally new people.
oh wow,
I honestly feel like this one is heads and tails above the first one. And I'm not just saying that because I want it to sell or anything like that. I truly feel like this one was pretty much created to perfection in my eyes. I handled everything myself, from, of course, writing it to editing to creating the cover that you see behind me and right here. Everything. No one else had a hand on it but me. It took me probably about 18 months to complete, and it spans from, I have 11 stories in it. Everyone from a guy here in St. Louis all the way to Nigeria and the UK. So it's worldwide in this one, and every story is special to me in some way. Every story is inspirational, and that's what I was going for with this one. I wanted this one to be a book that not just wrestling fans could pick up and appreciate, but a normal guy off the street, normal mother off the street could pick up and enjoy. So that's what I was going for with the second one.
that's
How
saying a
did
lot.
you-
I enjoyed your first one.
Thank you.
And it had some people in it that eventually all three of us got to meet. And like we were saying before we started, about that girl too that has gone even further with her career. What
Yeah.
was her name again? You had said it.
Izzy
Izzy
Marino.
who just signed on to WWE ID. So
Yeah.
I mean, you had some iconic people in there.
Mhm.
So I have not got to read this second book. I contacted you and told you I bought it, and it's on going to be on my doorstep tomorrow. So
Right on.
yes.
I think you're gonna like it. It's longer, and it has more photos, because that was the big thing that I was told by a lot of people, is they wanted to see more photos of the actual people that told their stories. So in this one, I have three or four photos of each person. So I have about over 30 photos in the book, and I really do. I think people are really going to like it.
Get your
Can you-
stories on this one, Dr. J, especially from Nigeria. Did you put just a call out, or how did you get it to where the people came in from all over the world, not just from the
So
States?
yeah, that's a good question. With this book, I really did a lot of research on things that were going on in the wrestling world, things that may have been popular on social media. And the young guy from Nigeria, his name's Ibuka, he created, and you've probably seen them, he creates entrances for Roman Reigns. He will basically take Roman Reigns' entrance or the Bloodline's entrances, and he recreates them with not just himself, but his brothers. And the way I found out about it was WWE actually caught on right before WrestleMania last year, I believe. Might have even been the year before, might have been 39. And there was a clip that came out of Roman actually watching Ibuka do one of these. And they actually sent him and his brothers like 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 replica title belts.
Wow.
So that's how I found out about him, and I reached out. via, I believe, his YouTube or TikTok or something like that, and we were able to hook up through Zoom. And one Saturday, we were able to sit down and talk for about 3 or 4 hours. It was an experience, man. I've never had to deal with the language barrier quite like that. So it was interesting talking to him, and you could hear his family in the background trying to talk to him and make sure he understood what I was asking him, and making sure that he was telling me what I was wanting to know and things like that. So it was definitely interesting. And we've corresponded through email several times since.
That's kind of cool. So how did you narrow it down to these stories in the book? Because more than likely you probably had 2 or 3 times the amount of stories, and
Yeah.
what made you settle on the ones that you put in there?
That's a good question. Because I was originally thinking about, and actually right up until about a month before I released this one, which this has only been out for a week, in full release, and it's available at a lot more places this time than the first book. The first book was only exclusively through Amazon. This one is Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, basically any store, because I purchased my own ISBN number, so I'm able to shop it around and get it into actual bookstores. Because I learned this along the way, a lot of bookstores, a lot of your small retail bookstores will not deal with authors if they have their book exclusively through Amazon, because Amazon is trying to put them out of business, of course. So it costs me a little bit more money to do it that way, but I also feel like I have 3 different versions of this book now, where this version right here is Barnes and Noble. So I like the cover on this one better, because the Amazon one, there's a black border around it, and then the other company I use, Ingram Spark, it's a white border. Now there's differences with the inside of the pages as well, and then with Barnes and Noble, I also am having a hardcover that's in all color made, so that's going to be a little more pricey. But I wanted to do something kind of special, and so that's actually being sent to me now to approve, and then I'll have the hardcover version out as well.
That's awesome.
anyway,
But with
yeah,
all 3 different places, the internals are the same. There's no different stories or
no,
different
everything's
pages.
the same. Everything's the same. The only thing that may look different is the page coloring. Like this one I have here is a different page color, and you really can't see it through the camera, but there's like a cream coloring of just plain white page, which is more Amazon. And that all kind of relates to the pricing. It makes the book a little more costly, a little cheaper. So I just kind of played with it and wanted to do a little bit different for each one, just to kind of be different. But I'm sorry, what was the original question you asked me? Oh, about the stories, about
Yeah,
how I
all the
chose the
stories are
story.
the same, the pictures the same.
Yeah, so originally with the first book, this one, um, I had thought about going back and updating them and including them in this current book and making it just really big, like close to 300 pages. I decided not to, because I felt like the first book had been done. I If I was going to go back and do that, it would take me probably another 6 to 12 months to update these stories, because not all 6 people are that easy to get a hold of. For instance, Izzy, to talk to her, I have to go through her management company,
Yeah.
Curation Management, and they were, to be honest with you, they were kind of a pain to deal with. Like, they were very particular about what I wrote. And being someone who's been a journalist for 20 years, one of the rules that I've always been told is you never let somebody read your stuff before it's put out. So, I've had people before that I've interviewed, and they come to me and they're like, well, can I see that before you release it? I don't do that. I don't believe in it. To me, that's against my journalistic integrity. Well, for her, I had to. So that was the first
Oh
time
yeah.
in 20 plus years that I had to let someone read what I was putting out there before I put it out there. But it was all cool. They approved everything, but it was just, there were some different hoops I had to jump through to get her. And then, you know, just reaching out to other people. Everybody's busy with their own things going on. You know, for instance, Kurt, I think you guys might know Kurt. He wrestles. He's busy. You know, he's a tough
Yeah.
guy to reach sometimes. So it was just because I'll be honest, with the first book, there were a lot of things looking at it now that I don't like.
Oh,
There's just the cover, for instance, I wish I would have done a little differently. The back of the book, I wish I would have done a little differently. Just some little things here and there. The size of the book, like this, as you know, this book is actually a 6x9, where the new one is a 5.5 by 8.5, and I think it lends itself a little bit better. I just think it's a little bit neater looking, and I kind of got that idea from looking at another author's book that he had just released about 2 or 3 months ago. And so I changed it from a 6x9 because that's what it was originally going to be, to a 5.5 by 8.5. So yeah, you know, that's how I kind of came up with the and as far as coming up with the 11 stories. I did have other stories, and I was at a point in time in my life where I was kind of just changing the way I thought about writing, changing my lifestyle. And that I had to do with one of the guys I interviewed in the book, actually. I interviewed the gentleman from the UK, Nick, who had been a former wrestler, and he had developed a lot of injuries. So he wound up gaining a bunch of weight, and he decided to start DDP yoga. And DDP kind of took him under his wing and would give him a phone call every now and then, checking up on him,
wow.
because he creates little wrestling figures. And DDP liked one of them so much that he had him send it to his mother. And so DDP would call him. Well, after talking to Nick, he kind of got me inspired in this whole health kick. And so January 1st of 2024, I started, and I've lost 130 pounds since then.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm up every morning. Down here, I'm outside. I don't even belong to a gym. I go out and I work out outside, or I got a elliptical down here I use. And it's just been something that I've been doing. So I really wanted to do something positive. I wanted to inspire others, and that's what I aim to do with this book. Is I wanted every story in it to be inspiring in some way, and it could be as simple as, you know, the one guy in it, Marcus. He lives in Kansas City, and I met Marcus at a SmackDown a couple years ago. I was actually sitting right next to him, and
Nice.
he works for Fox 4 in Kansas City. He's a television reporter, and I, you know, just started talking to him, and we just kind of became buddies. And come to find out, he wanted to become a wrestler, and he actually now works with a company out of Kansas called Trailblazer.
Okay. Yeah.
So I told his story, and you know, again, something as simple as he always wanted to do this, and he just went for it finally and did it. You know, he's in his, I guess Marcus is in his 30s now, but he's in great shape. I mean, he really is. So, you know, that's a simple story. But I wanted all of them to inspire people in some sort of a way.
And that's amazing. You know, I remember seeing your Facebook posts of you getting up and walking, but you know, I haven't seen them lately. Do you not?
Oh no, every morning, man. I posted one this morning.
Did you?
Hmm.
That's weird. I guess Facebook is so weird
It is.
because I'll get stuff from like 5 days later, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
like, all the April 1st jokes I was getting on the 5th. You know, it's just weird.
Right.
Um, but it's not like I'm not on Facebook every day because I'm trying to promote us or me or something. And
Right.
but yeah, I used to look forward to seeing those because I too am on a like a weight loss journey.
Hmm.
Um, I'm doing a different route. I'm still doing physical activities, going to the gym and stuff, but
Yeah.
I got a slight advantage. I think I'm doing the shots.
That's okay.
Uh,
Hey, that's all
yeah,
right, man. That's good.
but I'm already down 20 pounds, and you know, people. I'm at that point where people are starting to notice, because I've already had some people say, hey, you look a little slimmer, and it's,
Yeah.
it's very well appreciated and gives you a little bit of motivation behind it.
It does. It does,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, it really does. It's been a world changer for me. It really has.
Well,
So
I'm sure your health is so much better. You
it
breathing and
is,
everything
man.
else.
Yeah. I go to a doctor for regular checkups every 2 or 3 months, and he's amazed. Like, he tells all his patients and his staff about me. I even mention him in the new book. I give a little shout out to him because I hated going to the doctor. I really did. I can remember the day I walked into his office right before Christmas of 23, and I was dreading it because I knew I was in horrible shape. I knew I let myself go. And honestly, God's honest truth was I didn't think I was going to live another 3 or 4 years. That's how bad I was. I just had no drive to do anything, and I thought it was a lost cause. And he was able to get me going. And I mean, I did everything else on my own. It's funny, I carry around a milk jug of water all day, every day. I'm always swigging water, and I try not to eat after 6 p.m.
Oh
Um,
wow, yeah,
the first 3 months I was strict as can be, and now I'm a little more lenient. I still don't eat out hardly at all. Like, I can't tell you the last time I've had fast food really. Um, we never do it anymore. I mean, it's like my dog gets more fast food than I do. I go to Burger King just to get her a burger,
oh wow,
and that's it. So it just it's a lot of and to be honest, social media has helped me a ton because I knew I needed some way to hold myself accountable, and by doing that, by just posting it and letting people see, I knew that if I didn't post one day, somebody might hit me up. Hey, where's your post? Are you
yeah,
doing anything? Because I'm pretty much every day. I mean, I might take a day off every other week here and there, but I even hate doing that. I really do. I hate taking days off, but you got to. You got
right,
to allow yourself that day to recover and just
yeah, you gotta
relax.
rest.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, it's that's been a big part of this book. It really has. And if I wouldn't have started on that journey, I don't know if I would have finished this book, to be
Really?
honest with you. Yeah. I mean, it's really been a big motivator for me because I'm kind of looking forward to the next uh, venture, which I'm honestly thinking about telling my entire story of this journey in a book to help people and to go around and speak to people, mainly teenagers. Being someone who works with teenagers every day, um, I see a lot of kids struggle, and I know when I was a kid, I've been overweight my entire life, and it's just been something that has been in my family, and nobody could explain it why. And it was just like,
Yeah,
well, that's just how we are. We're big boned.
yeah,
Well, no offense, but that's bullshit.
yep.
That is not how it is. I started really looking into myself, and I'm like, you know what? As a kid, when I did something great and my mom or dad or grandpa took me somewhere, I was rewarded with food.
Yeah,
When I had a bad game or I had a bad day, I was made to feel better by food. Food has always been a big part of my family's life. And for me now, it's not as big of a deal anymore. I can go out and not eat. And I can be around people eating crap and all that, and it doesn't bother me. And I don't judge people for it. I mean, if they can do it, more power to them. I know I can't because it was an addiction. So a big part of my journey was finding that inner uh, voice and really understanding myself and being at peace with myself finally. And I just think so many people need to hear that because, listen, you can go to a gym and hear a personal trainer spin his bullshit all day long. But unless you've been in a heavy person's shoes and been overweight, you don't know. And I'll tell a personal trainer that to his face. I don't care if you're 180 pounds, ripped and toned. If you've never been overweight, you don't know what you're talking about. You can tell somebody how to work out. Anybody can do that. But if you don't know where they're coming from, you can't help that person. And I'm a devout believer in that because I've heard all the people spin their crap to me, and none of it stays because they don't understand me. They don't understand where I'm coming from. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do next is let people know that, hey, it's okay. We can get through it. I understand where you're coming from. You can talk to me and you can hear my story and maybe it will help you along the way.
I think you're picking a hard crowd too. When you're talking about teenagers,
Yeah.
some of them, I mean, it's probably a good age because they're probably not set in their ways yet,
Right.
like adults and stuff. But at the same time, you know how teenagers are.
Yeah. I do. Yep.
But I mean,
Bobby's with me 7 days a week.
I've got one that lives here.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second here. All right, I'm
What's
gonna
wrong?
bow just for a second, guys.
Okay.
So what surprised you about the second one? I mean, was there anything in the second one that was a surprise as far as stories go?
Oh gosh. Yeah. The last chapter was about a young lady named Emily from Sacramento, California.
My old
And
stomping ground.
I've never been there. I had never planned on writing a chapter 11. And really, if you think about it, to end on chapter 11 is kind of a weird chapter to end on in a book. You know, I always like to end on an even keel. And I was finishing up chapter 10, and I happened to come across a video on, I think it was Facebook or something, that Emily had posted of Kevin Owens. And so I started kind of looking into it more, and come to find out Emily has stage 4 kidney cancer. And she has become a huge Kevin Owens fan to the point where she has the keep fighting slogan that she uses. She wears his shirt to all her chemo sessions. And she went to a show, a SmackDown show in Sacramento. And when the show went off air, he was in the ring with Cody Rhodes. And Kevin got out of the ring and climbed up into the crowd and gave her his shirt that he had signed to her. And so I saw that video and I was in tears because I lost my father to cancer when I was 20. So it's been 23 years now. So that's, that's a cause that I'm very adamant about spreading the word about and helping as much as I can. And seeing her story and getting to talk to her was definitely something that I am very proud of when it comes to this book. I think that the last chapter is probably my favorite of all of them just because it is so touching. And I think, and I thought, what better way to wrap up this book and this series than a subject that has really touched everybody in one way or another. I mean, we all know somebody who has passed away from it or has beat it throughout their lives. So that is definitely something that meant a lot to me with this book is that story. And like I said, it was a complete surprise. I didn't expect to be writing about that.
Oh, you just wanted to write a Spinal Tap chapters all. Goes up to 11.
Yeah, man.
How are you the only one out of these two that like classic rock that got it? Disappointed in you guys. Disappointed.
Well, I know what Spinal Tap is, but I didn't think it talked about the stories. Because Spinal Tap was a man that tried to be a rock star. Well, he's an author already, so he's not trying to be an author.
Yeah,
I don't know. Jeremy, he missed it. You want to explain?
I was just telling him that I didn't expect to end the book on chapter 11. I had originally only planned on the book being 10 chapters. Oh. And the 11th chapter just kind of popped up on my radar right as I was getting ready to finish chapter 10. So I went ahead and did it.
Yeah. You're a sports writer. Right? You write about other sports and other movies. I mean, we've met. Of course, the Iron Claw was kind of about sports too, but
Mhm.
is wrestling more of a passion of your writing, or is it the other sports that you cover? Or because you've done 2 books on wrestling now, well, at least stories of people
Yeah.
who love wrestling. Uh, have you? I don't think I've ever asked you. Have you wrote any other books?
No, no. Well, just a 100+ page dissertation on the use of social media in the classroom.
Oh,
So, but
well, that's a book.
uh, to get my doctorate, I had to do that.
Okay.
But that's really boring. You wouldn't want to read that. Trust me. I hated writing it, so I know you'd hate reading it.
Yeah.
Um, but no, these are the first 2 books that I've written. You know, and wrestling is a passion of mine. I really started to think about that before the first book because of traveling around and meeting some of my friends from Canada and California. And these are guys that we only get together when there's a WrestleMania that we're going to, or there's another show that we all decide to meet up at. So we've created this lifelong friendship just based off of that, you know. And I actually just talked to 3 of the guys yesterday because the one guy's actually heading out to Vegas for
I was
Mania to
just
get
gonna ask you.
married.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was wondering if I was going to be out there, and I'm like, no, it's just too damn expensive to go out there for the show this year. Um,
Yeah.
you know, so, but yeah, you know, it is a passion. I love sports, football mainly, basketball and baseball, a little bit of hockey, you know, but yeah, I mean, sports has always been something that I loved, and it always will be. And I think, regardless of what I write next, there will be a sports element to it in one way or another.
Yeah. I just from reading the first one, I just assumed that the love for wrestling was more connected to you than anything else. And
Yeah.
like I said, I didn't know if you wrote anything else, but 2 books back to back, and you're talking about this. Well, you talking about writing a third one about you. Is it also your love of wrestling, or just your weight loss journey?
Yeah, you know, I think I've put the wrestling books to rest. Um, I was just talking to Stanley Carr
Uh huh.
Sunday, and he asked me, he goes, well, would you ever consider writing another wrestling book? I said, yeah. I said, if I could do a biography of somebody, I would love to do that. And he asked me who. And I thought about it, and I said, you know, being from St. Louis, I guess I'd have to pick Randy Orton.
Yeah.
I think he'd have a pretty interesting life story to tell. So I would love to write something like that about a wrestler's life, or you know, a promoter or manager. Or I just love watching these, and WWE does them so well. These kind of behind the scenes documentaries. It really gets me into writing, and especially like they did one. They actually featured the Wrestling Club, which is chapter 1 of my new book, which kind of bummed me out at first because I'm like, oh man, they're mowing my lawn here before I
Yeah.
can get the book out. But it was basically they sent Drew McIntyre and Sheamus to hang out with these kids all day at this school, which was really cool. So it kind of added to my book. I mentioned that in the chapter as well. But you know, they do such great documentaries. Like I just finished on Peacock. They have the story of WrestleMania 9 that took place in Vegas,
Yes.
and hearing the stories from behind the scenes from the guys that lived it, and then seeing the footage that they have as well. I was not a big fan of WrestleMania 9. I thought it was actually kind of a boring show when I was a kid. I remember watching it. Um, I kind of fallen out of love with the product at that time because all the characters were just like ridiculous. You know, Doink the Clown.
Yeah.
I was never a Doink the Clown fan. I thought that was the stupidest character ever. You know, and Hogan I had kind of fallen out of love with because I was a teenager and Hulk Hogan just wasn't cool then. You know, and the
Wasn't it
Undertaker was young, and
wasn't it kind of
but
cool to find out the reason why Hogan came back?
yeah, Yeah,
You
it
know?
really was, man. And that's what I mean. Like the behind the scenes stuff, it's just like that's what I want to be able to tell. Like
Yeah.
I've never been a big fiction person, and people ask me that all the time. They're like, "You don't read fiction?" I read Stephen King, and that's about it because I like Stephen King's writing. I like him as a person, and so I enjoy reading his writing. But other than that, I don't read any fiction. Everything I read is nonfiction. A lot of biographies. Like I have a little library I put together over here underneath my TV, and it's all a lot of it is pro wrestling
Yeah.
biographies. You know, I love reading them. I just find them very interesting to find out what the people were thinking at the time. You know, when these events happened.
I I agree with you, but I don't agree with you. Just on the part of WWE documentaries, because I
Hmm.
always feel like they have it going their way,
Oh yeah,
and I would love to. So someone like you who doesn't have any ties to the WWE, I think you would write a better one
sure.
than, because I even feel that, because I got a stack of books too, and it's all, all the wrestler ones, and the ones that are produced by WWE, I'm almost like Ric Flair's. When Ric Flair came out with his WWE version and then
Yeah,
he came out with his own version, those are two different stories. You
sure.
know, but yeah, I love watching those behind the scenes. I was really shocked that they let that, and it's so amazing that it used to be so protected. Our business was so protected, and
Hmm.
even in that documentary, like the Undertaker's like, "Why is there a camera back here?"
Yeah,
There's never a camera back here. Get the camera out of my face. Yeah,
yeah.
So it's yeah, kind of like a yin yang because everything's out. Um, but so everyone knows, but back in the day, and even us today, we keep a lot of stuff still secretive.
Sure.
But it just amazes me that they threw that out there and let the whole world see it.
You know, that's a good point, and I think that the fan. I don't want to say the fan's smarter today, um, but we have a lot of access to more insight today than
Yes.
we ever have before. You know, I think about that. I think about when I was in high school and I would record Monday Night Raw every Monday night because I would be out doing something at school or whatever. I'm like, today, you can't really do that because you open up Facebook or Instagram, you're going to find out what the hell happened within 5 minutes of it happening.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the big disadvantage. I think it's a disadvantage that we're at today, but yet we have people who make their living telling us what happened
Yeah.
before we even get to see it, which to me is just like, well, why do I want to watch it then? Because I've had that happen. I've had to, especially now with Raw being on Netflix, and I'll go back and I'll watch it and I'll just fast forward through so much stuff because I'm like, I knew this was going to happen. I already read about it, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so that is kind of a bummer in a way.
There's we try to have a rule in our locker room, and because a lot of our shows fall on like pay-per-views.
Hmm.
And so
Right.
we'll be wrestling that night, but there will be a pay-per-view going on,
Hmm.
and all of us love wrestling. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And as much as we say we hate WWE and AEW, we all love WWE and AEW
Right.
because we love fucking wrestling.
Right.
And yeah, we try to have it, but there's always someone who's in the corner sneaking, watching the damn pay-per-view, and their volume is just loud enough that you can hear what's going on, or they're
Yeah.
getting like this past Rumble, when this other people are coming in, the shockers like Bella and I think there's a couple other ones. They blew it because they were excited in the locker room and like, no, we don't want to watch it right now.
Uh,
But
you know, you bring up a perfect example because it just happened to me today. I already know one of the surprises for Monday Night Raw that's going to happen.
oh, yeah,
It
don't
was pretty much let out today that
well,
a new
well,
person's coming over from AEW.
no shit.
Yep. someone who I had no idea that they were available. I had no clue because they were just in a big story.
Huh.
But yeah, so I was like, are you kidding me? So I already know like one of the surprises now on Monday night. Now, there's several other ones I think that could happen. I mean, there's a lot of talent out there that we haven't seen or that isn't involved in WrestleMania. Like I was just telling my buddy, you were talking about reading the wrestler biographies. Karrion Kross has one coming out,
Yeah.
and it's not a WWE affiliated book that I'm aware of. I've been reading up on it, and it sounds really good. I've always been a big fan of his, and I feel like that is one of Triple H's big misses, not using him properly.
Yeah.
I think the dude could be a world champion, a monster heel if given the right program, and they haven't done it. They just don't. They don't utilize him. Like when he was at NXT, he's one of their best champions they've had in years, and you bring him up to the main roster and you just let him go to hell. It's a shame.
I think even the little 30-second segments that they're giving him is getting him over still.
It is. It is.
And even so Monday, we haven't talked about Raw yet, but yesterday he had a match with AJ Styles.
Yeah.
And that match was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a match to get AJ Styles prepared for I forgot his name.
Logan.
Logan Paul.
He's fighting
Logan
Logan.
Paul. And even at the end of the match, they had him when Logan Paul and AJ Styles are going at it just a little bit. They still had him come in and interfere that little part, but still he got beat up. But yeah,
Right.
I do feel that he is so underrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm shocked that he's able to do a book without the attachment of WWE. So that must be something
Yeah.
new.
Yeah. And again, I don't know. I don't know if they are attached, but everything I've seen, they are not. So now, does he take liberty with that? I'll be interested to see that because from what I've read about it, and I've seen some of his posts about it, he doesn't really mention WWE at all so far. So I'm hoping that the whole book sticks to that and is pretty true to him, and
Well,
it doesn't really have their spin.
Even on Twitter this morning, I was reading one of his posts. Someone else had screenshotted and then shared it, but they were talking to him, and they said, "Well, you don't have a match at WrestleMania." Oh, you read it?
That.
Yeah, and he goes, "It's all right. It's in my hometown, and I understand, but I get to wake up next to Scarlett in the morning." So,
Fair enough.
Yeah, but
I mean, I
he's
just
still
think
on contract. He's still making money.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Maybe he's fine with it. Maybe he doesn't care, And if he doesn't, okay. I believe that a lot of these guys, and it's just like a pro football player or baseball player when they're not getting in the game. They may be making their big money, but they're still pissed that they're not getting in. They're competitors. He's no different. I'm sure he wants that storyline. I would think he would.
When he got let go, and he started a YouTube channel. See, I watch a lot of YouTube. That's my go-to for platforms. He started a YouTube channel, and he always talked about how everything that he was doing was to get back to WWE. All the independence that he was having to work, keeping in the shape that he was in, before he left, was to get him back into that spot. So I know he probably wants it. It's just that, again, and me and Bobby and Nate were talking about this. They're right now, since they switched to Netflix, and Netflix wants certain people on their show, it's cutting a lot of time away from other people, other stars, because now they got to do both shows instead of Cody Rhodes just sticking to SmackDown. Now he's got to make his little Monday Night Raw visits. Same thing for Roman Reigns. He was a SmackDown guy, but now he's on Raw, and so having those people always there cuts away a lot of time for the other wrestlers.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, last night was a prime example. That segment that ended the show, that was about a 20-minute, 25-minute segment for three guys.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you could have done. Not that I'm a big fan of CM Punk, so I had no issue with it, but you could have done so much more with it. I mean, you could have had a good match to close out, you know, and push somebody else,
Well,
you know. So
I
I don't
like
know.
Gunther. I like Gunther, but
Yes.
he opened the show and it was like 20-minute speech.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And I
I know.
I'm go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, we talk about it all the time, how they can trim all the fluff and put a couple more guys in there to have it even more entertaining. But
Well, you bring up Gunther. That I'm a big fan of Gunther. Not just in the ring, but his backstory as well. You talk about a guy that took himself from being way out of shape, and I mean, he looks like $1,000,000 now.
yeah.
I feel like they are almost ruining him
By
by
pairing him
this
up
whole
with
Jey Uso crap. I mean, no disrespect to Jey Uso, but he's not a main event guy. He is
We've been
not.
saying it for a while.
He is an entrance, and
oh
it's
yes,
it's
he's
a
even back
shame
down.
that they're going to possibly take the title off of Gunther to sell some T-shirts to kids.
Yes.
Really, you have a guy in Gunther who is a generational type heel
Yeah.
who has never done the things he's doing now. Like, he's a bully in the ring. He's not a bully outside the ring. That's why people liked him. Like, he's old school. He reminds me of like a Harley Race type guy. The way
Yeah.
he's acting now, it's like you can tell they're just doing this to get Jay over to make up for Jay's lack of skill as a singles competitor.
God,
You
I
know,
totally agree with you. I've been saying
and
this for
yeah,
weeks.
almost
it's a
word for word,
travesty.
Jeremy, it's like you're watching what we're saying.
Yeah, man. And I hope I do have a slimmer hope that they're gonna let Gunther retain at Mania. I really do.
I hope so.
But everything I'm seeing just tells me it's gonna be Jay winning. He'll hold the title for about a month. Hell, he may lose it in St. Louis the next month at Backlash.
Yeah.
Just to sell some stupid T-shirts that say "Yeet," which I think is the stupidest thing in the world. I hate it. I hate it. Now the entrance is cool, him coming through the crowd and all that, but the whole "Yeet" thing, I'm just like, how stupid can we make ourselves sound? Come on, like.
And again, you're saying they're doing it to sell t-shirts, and I agree. But then at the same aspect, they're having him come out with rappers who's smoking dope on the way to the ring. I mean, where this is not meshing right. You're doing this because he's all entrance, and it pops everyone in the crowd, and the kids go crazy for it. But yet, at the same time, they're smoking dope coming down.
Yeah, that blew my mind that night. And then the fact that they had him on again and he busted Cody's eardrum. It's like,
Oh,
what are we doing here? I get it. I get it. By having Travis Scott on, you are bringing in a whole new audience. I totally understand that, and I have no issue with that. But why would you have him get involved in a match? Like, really?
right.
Look at the dude. Like, he couldn't hurt a feather. Come
You're
on.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
And it's
that
an
was wrong.
audience they haven't been able to retain with any consistency.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. When I seen that, I was like, why? He had nothing to do with The Rock and
No.
John Cena turning. And for most of it, he was just a fly on the wall and hanging on the ropes until
Right.
the very end when he came in and smacked him. But there was no point in it. He should not even been there.
No.
But I don't know. I'm not a head creator or writer or anything like that, but sometimes
If
I
we
wonder.
were, Tony
Be a lot
Khan's
better.
promotion would be better.
Do you watch a lot of AEW?
If I can help it, I don't. It's
That's my
so
point.
I started out as a huge AEW fan because myself and Dirty went to All Out when it was in Chicago years ago before AEW even came about. And I do have a cool story about that. So when we were there, they had Punishment Martinez, who is now Damian Priest, and he was fighting in a match. I forget who he even fought. I don't remember. I just remember him. And I looked at Dirty and I said, that dude is going to be a WWE champion in the next 5 years. And he looked at me, he goes, bullshit. And I go, look at him. I go, that's a Vince McMahon guy. Like, look at his size. He is a prototype Vince guy. I said, all they're going to have to do is hone his mic skills. They still got to hone his mic skills a little bit, but I've loved him. I think he's a great wrestler. He entertains me. I wish that they could get him over more, or he could get himself over. It's like him and Drew are stuck in this rut.
Yes.
Neither of them can get themselves over, and it's a shame because I think they're both talented as hell. Drew especially. Like, I really thought Drew would be one of the big time faces of the company by now. So I don't know. I don't know what is. You know, but,
I think they need to make him that. Right now, I would label him as a tweener. You know, he's either heel or he's a baby. I think they need to full-fledged let him go baby, because the spots that him and R-Truth had, where R-Truth was trying to pop him, those were the moments that you remember. You know, and a lot of it had to do with R-Truth, but his emotions that he showed when he, you know, was trying to break the not laugh but break it, and then eventually, you know, those are the moments that I, for one, look for is the emotions. And I hands down, he can be a great baby face. But you
and
can't
get him
have
off
him.
Get him off the weird obsession of stealing everybody's jewelry.
And leave the swords at home, for Christ's sakes. I hate that damn sword. Like, God, what the hell are we doing with a sword? But, you know, Drew's a great dude. I met Drew here in St. Louis several years ago, back before they released him the first time. He had, it was after a pay-per-view here in St. Louis, and we were at the Irish pub up the street from Enterprise Center after the show. And he was in there by himself eating. And my wife just walked up and sat down with him and started talking to him for like a half hour. And he was the nicest, soft-spoken guy. And then I ran into him again at WrestleMania 30 before he joined NXT. Again, great guy, super nice. I've gotten to interview him a couple times. I think the world of him. Like, he is legit one of the kindest pro wrestlers next to Mick Foley that I've ever got to work with. So yeah, I think being a face would be perfect for him. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Sometimes they don't need to push their versions. Sometimes when the fans see right through it and still like them for other reasons, you need to lean them towards that. You know.
Yeah, you know, and you brought up R-Truth. Why have we not seen John Cena destroy R-Truth in the middle of the ring? Like, to me, it's like this is a golden opportunity to show what a heel John Cena has become by destroying one of the most likable guys in the company who, you know, posts about Cena all the time. Like, why are we not seeing this? Like, now we have one more chance. I mean, maybe SmackDown Friday night we see it, but by then it's like it's too late. Like,
we talked about this too. You know, John Cena, since he turned, we've seen 2 promos with him, and that's it. We haven't seen any matches. Like, this was such a hot topic, and I don't think they're capitalizing on it. And I don't know if it's because maybe his, you know, he's got so many appearances a year in his contract, but man, they should have put a lot of those appearances like right now leading into WrestleMania.
And what's funny is he is going to be around a ton after Mania. I just saw his schedule. Like, starting after Mania, he's almost there every week, either on Raw or SmackDown.
Wow.
So, which tells me he's probably walking out with that title.
Yeah.
You know? And again, shame on Tony Khan for blocking Ric Flair from being able to go to WrestleMania. You know, I am not the biggest Ric Flair fan anymore. I think he's kind of become a joke. But that would be a moment that, you know, it's no different than when Ovechkin broke Gretzky's record and Gretzky was there.
Yeah.
You got to have Ric Flair there. And shame on that, just shows what a small potato Tony Khan really is. I mean, he's a joke of an owner.
It's the same thing you got to say about the Hall of Fame, not letting Sting come in and induct Lex Luger.
The Hall of Fame's a joke, though. I mean, come on, Michelle McCool, come on.
Yeah.
Please, what did she ever do that's Hall of Fame worthy? I mean, really? I mean, other than
she married the Undertaker. I read that today.
Yeah. Well, I think they're bringing, from what I understand, I don't watch the LFG show that they do, but they're apparently bringing her on for the second season and replacing Mickey James.
Yeah, so I don't like that. We talked about that show, and we talked about their other one. That had to do with a lot of the WWID wrestlers. To me, those two shows, I had high hopes for them, but I'm a product. I loved watching Tough Enough. And Tough Enough, you really got more behind the scenes about those guys.
Yeah.
And even in the LFG, you don't have that. You got them as soon as they walk into the building, and then the whole practice. And even at that, it's still cut up so bad. They really needed to rethink that and go back to the old, because even the last version, like the Chris Jericho version of Tough Enough, was a really shitty one. They should have kept it the way the original ones were. You know, even though you moved it from MTV, you should have kept what was working. And hands down, everyone still knows who Maven is.
They do. They do.
You know?
Yeah.
And he was the very first one on Tough Enough. They could probably name all the other ones, but that last series, who knew that Chelsea Green was in there or Mandy Rose was in there? No one knew it until they actually made it, and that's because it was a bad production of that series that year.
I'll be honest, I didn't know until you just said it. So
yeah, I didn't either. I didn't know that Chelsea Green was on there.
And plus, she was the only one that came in there that season with a wrestling history of working independents, and she was not picked. You know, the rest of them were all like, you know, the supermodels or from, you know, modeling and stuff like that, and she was the only one with the background and wasn't picked. And now, you know, now she's got her own championship, you know, but it's just amazing to me. Yeah, I don't like either one. I gave them a shot. I watched them both, and then I quit watching them because it's not what I expected.
No, I'll stick to Dark Side of the Ring, and that's about all I watch.
I like watching that. But then again, you'll see a lot of companies not like Dark Side of the Ring.
Well, because they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And the truth isn't always pretty, you know. And I think that if these companies would just realize that, you know, I have no issue with the past. The past is the past. If they did something shitty in the past, so be it. Learn from it. Don't do it again. You know, that's all I would look for. So yeah, these companies that don't want anything to do with it, it's just like, why? You need to embrace the past, regardless of good, bad, or, you know, whatever. Embrace it because it's yours.
Oh, speaking on that, Jeremy, would you consider doing a book called Road Stories about all the, like you talk about Harley Race, we know of some stories where them going from match to match and drinking, throwing the cans out the window, a book about those type of stories?
That would be cool. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, I can remember as a kid being told stories about when the WWF wrestlers would come to town, they would all go over to Pops, and hell would break loose on a Friday night, because I think one night it was Mr. Perfect got into a fight at Pops and just tore a bunch of dudes up. I mean, tore them up and tore the place up. And stuff like that would be really cool to tell, because I think there's a lot of people who would be interested to hear some of these stories because, you know, they're getting to live a life that some of us would like to be a part of. You know, I mean, as much as they bitch and complain about being on the road, which, yeah, I can't imagine having to go to like Saudi Arabia. I would not go. I was just talking to a kid at school about that the other day, and I'm like, that's the one thing that I don't like that they do. And I always respect the guys who say they won't go. And then most of them wind up going anyway at some point because, you know, they get paid enough. Yeah, I guess when it comes down to the almighty dollar, it's going to win out. But, you know, as much as the traveling sucks, and it's a lot better now than it was years ago, I still would like to be a part of that and be able to be a fly on the wall with a lot of that stuff. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, and I think you're uniquely situated at the point where you could get some of those stories that ordinarily they wouldn't say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, I just saw that they announced Boogeyman for the Fan Fest. And I'm trying to get a hold of Marty to talk to him. I've been trying to reach out to him because I want to talk to him more about his acting, being in Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, he's got a role in Any Given Sunday. Yeah, if you watch it, you see him. Yeah. So I'd love to talk to him about that.
I was looking at my phone because I didn't want, like, nowadays my memory on names is horrible. But I want to do a little throwback to the Hall of Fame. How you said it was a joke, WWE's Hall of Fame, and we did a whole podcast on Ivan Koloff. Okay. And Ivan Koloff went into the Hall of Fame, is going into the Hall of Fame this year, besides for us, but also for the WWE, which I thought that was kind of a weird timing that we announced it, and now they are announcing it. But they went in, he's going into the Legends wing. So his family doesn't get up there and get to speak. No one gets to say anything about him. And he was a WWF champion. Yeah, and that's what kills me. And you hear the people talking about, like Triple H talking about how they're running out of main stars to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that's kind of like the blow off of why Undertaker's wife, I guess, got inducted because she's still a popular name per se. I don't know what she did, but people like Ivan Koloff, Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
Right.
Bruiser.
Yeah, Bruiser Brody. They, like, when we talk to Barbara, because she's been on and comes every year to SICW multiple times, and she talks about how she wasn't even told about it. They didn't give her anything, like a ring or a plaque or anything like that. They just announced it. She was even in the city that they were doing the WrestleMania at, that they put him in the Legends Hall, I guess you would say, and they still didn't, invite her, tell her, or anything like that. And they're just like the people that love the old school wrestling and love the old wrestlers, like they don't give a shit about.
No, because the money is with the kids.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. I think, and I honestly believe that if Triple H had his way, I think you'd see more old school wrestlers because Triple H is an old school guy. I mean, he was a huge Harley race guy. So I think if he had his way, I think you'd see more of the old school guys get their honor that they deserve. But you got to please the advertisers because that's what pays the bills. And unfortunately, that's the world we're in.
Speaking of that, I know you probably get press passes and stuff like that when you go to these events, but have you seen the prices like for WrestleMania or even Backlash or even Monday Night Raw here lately?
Yeah, I bought my Backlash ticket because when WWE merged with UFC, the media availability really changed. UFC, and I've worked with UFC before, they are not an easy company to work with at all. Very difficult, to be honest with you. And not that I've had I've never had any negative issues with them working with them, but I just know they are a hard nut to crack.
Wow.
And so when I heard they merged, I was worried because WWE was always really great with me. I mean, I would get, whenever they'd come to town, I'd get 2, sometimes 3 superstars. Even when they were in Kansas City, I'd get 2 guys to interview. And they'd hook me up with 2 tickets and let me bring my camera in and all that. The last time they were here in St. Louis, I didn't get anyone to interview.
Wow.
And they didn't tell me I had 2 tickets until 3 hours before the show. So I didn't go.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, screw you guys. I'm not going. Like, so they told me, they're like, we'll make it up to you, blah, blah, blah. Well, Backlash is coming and I've heard nothing. I got rejected for WrestleMania. I didn't get approved. I applied. I wasn't going to be able to go anyway, but I did get my denial. First time I've ever been denied of a show from WWE,
Wow.
which I wasn't surprised because I've been hearing things from other guys around the country. But it's different. And so for Backlash, I went ahead and I bought a ticket because I'm like, well, if they do approve me, I'll have no problem selling this ticket to somebody because it's going to be a hot show. Especially with Cena being there, I know that everybody's going to want to go.
Right.
So I went ahead and I got, but yeah, the prices I paid. So I normally, when I would buy a ticket, I would usually sit in a 100 level, like right off of the floor, and pay about 100, maybe just a tad over $100 for a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
For Backlash, I paid $150 a ticket, and I'm sitting on the 3rd level, 1st row. So 1st row, 300 level. And my wife always tells me I'm a seat snob. Everywhere I go, I gotta have a good seat. That's just, I go to a concert, I'm used to sitting in the first few rows. Sporting event, same thing. This is going to be the furthest I've ever sat for a WWE show since my grandpa took me when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Because the prices are just ridiculous.
Yes.
And Mania was even worse. I've seen guys online going to Mania who are saying they paid $2,000 for a ticket, and I'm like, where the hell do you guys get this money at? Like,
yeah, these packages for $10,000, and you know, we talked about it probably last week or the week before that they're actually pushing out. I mean, it's supposed to be for the kids, but you're pushing out the families, because the families can't, family of 4, can't afford that.
No.
And if so, like Backlash, I know it's a little different because it's a pay-per-view. So now you got families probably flying in or driving in.
Yeah.
So now they have to pay for the hotel stay too, plus the fly in or the gas coming in and going back. So it's definitely, since I agree with you, since the merger, since TKO and all that stuff, it's their prices. I think they're viewing their tickets as like a UFC event instead of a wrestling event.
Yeah,
and that's what's screwing them up.
Yeah, UFC prices were ridiculous a long time ago. I'll tell you that. So I definitely think that's the main reason you're seeing the prices go up. Even the merch. Like I used to go on WWE Shop and get T-shirts at least once a month. I'd get a shirt or two every month or two, of Cody or CM Punk or somebody. I'll be honest, I haven't logged on there in probably 2 months just because it's like I'm not spending $40 on a T-shirt. I'm not going to do it. So,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's gotten a bit ridiculous. It really has, and you're right. But if you look at pro sports as a whole, they're all driving the families away. I mean, look at Major League Baseball. How many families of 4 or 5 can afford to go to a Cardinal game?
I sit in the nosebleeds. I got it. I'm in the nosebleeds. I do $10-15.
Yeah, but then you
at least you got that option for a $10 or $15 ticket. WWE, you don't even have that option because the cheapest one was $110.
And they used to be what, 25? I think I can remember recently like a Raw being $25.
I remember most of my seats growing up was always on the floor, 3 or 4 rows back, and you weren't paying over $100.
Man, I've never sat that close. I'd love to sit that close.
Oh, I mean, this was back when they still had the old railing system walking from the back to the ring, you know, the metal,
Oh, okay.
like you would still see at the independent shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember just reaching over, you know, touching Stone Cold as he walked by.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's all gone now because you can't even touch the floor for like, unless you're spending $500-$600.
Yeah.
And it's even more for the first 3 rows. So
yeah, you make a good point, because I really thought about, I'm going with a buddy this time, but I thought about going by myself and splurging and sitting on the floor, like, you know, first 5 or 6 rows, because I've never, I think the closest I've ever sat buying a ticket was SummerSlam in Vegas. We went and I sat like probably the 15th row on the floor, right on the aisle, so it was a good seat. And that wasn't, maybe $200, which I'm okay with for a big show like that. I had no issue paying that in Vegas. Shit, $200 now in Vegas for Mania? I don't even know if that would get me in the door. Probably not.
No.
Probably not a parking spot.
You would pay $200 to watch a big screen TV.
Yeah, you're right. Totally.
Yeah, and that's what I was, because I'm still on the defense of if I'm gonna buy a ticket to Backlash, and I love hearing the announcers. You don't get that at the show, and to sit up in the nosebleeds and not hear anything, and then you're basically watching their big jumbotron anyway. You might as well be at home watching it with all the conveniences of being at home.
Yeah.
You know, it's just crazy.
I'm holding out hope that I get approved for Backlash, because they usually sit us right next to the hard cam.
Yeah.
And it's a good spot, and usually there's room. But here lately, from what I've been hearing, they're selling every single seat. So you know, and it's a shame that it's getting to that where they want to make every single dollar that they can, because it's like, really, are you going to be that much in the hole if you save, you know, 50 tickets around the hard cam?
They're making all that millions and billions of overseas money. I mean, why can't they, like you said, just ease up?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that I didn't think Backlash would be as high as it was. When I logged on there for the pre-sale, I was shocked. I'm like, I remember I called my buddy and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I know people are bitching about Mania and I get it, but I'm like, this is St. Louis and it's Enterprise Center. It's like $300 for a ticket and 100 level? Come on.
It's normally a throwaway pay-per-view anyway. You know, it's always the Monday after WrestleMania is just like a pay-per-view on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But until you get into the SummerSlam and you know the road up to SummerSlam and everything, you know, they're like Backlash is normally a throwaway.
Right.
But I don't know. I know we kind of got off the subject a lot.
That's okay.
Yeah, but WWE, the entertainment company, the parent company, has increased their profit by 40% so far this year compared to last year. 40%.
Wow. And you say that almost like it's a low number. It's only 40%, but when they made millions, they probably made billions last year.
Yeah, so it's not a low number, because just the net income, it doesn't include what they get going overseas. It doesn't include a lot of things. Just the base level net income is $500 million. That's not including Netflix. It's not including Saudi Arabia. It's not including the $1 billion that they're going to get from doing those two things.
Yeah.
And they've cut out house shows.
Yeah.
So there are no more house shows. It's like, I mean, I don't know that those didn't make a killing, but you know, you figure what they do a house show every Friday, Saturday, Sunday normally.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I remember him even doing them on like Mondays. You know, when Raw was going, they had the SmackDown group doing a house show somewhere on a Monday. I remember. So you put enough of those together, you're making a good chunk of change. So I mean, they lost out on all that not doing those.
And it's keeping the fans interested in their product by having those house shows that are normally cheaper. for them to come in and enjoy the product, so they're doing it. So as much as I do not watch, or I would hate to use the word hate, AEW, every time they come to town, their tickets are really cheap. I'm able to bring the family. We're able to watch it all. Granted, it's normally like 6 or 7 hours of wrestling that night because they throw everything in one load there. But at least for the money that you pay, you get a great show.
Yes.
And hell, half of them are you got to understand, when they do those kind of shows, it's still dream matches with no storyline. So you do get that pop of a match, because there's normally at least one dream match, per show that you would think that they would never work together with. So you at least get that, and then you get all the ex WWE guys that are on the show, so you kind of familiar with their talent. At least the kids are too. The kids are familiar with the talent. So I hate to say it, but WWE puts a better product on the TV, but AEW gives back to the fans on their live shows.
I will agree with that. As much as I haven't watched an AEW show in a while. I tried to tune into their pay-per-view. I think it was last Sunday or the Sunday before. I fell asleep at like 9 o'clock.
Oh,
It was
wow.
bad. And I like some of the talent they got there. Like, I'm a huge Swerve Strickland fan. I love the guy. I like Osprey. I like watching him, at least.
Yeah.
Guys like that I really enjoy watching, but I couldn't tell you what any of them are doing. And now when they came to St. Louis, that pay-per-view they had in St. Louis last year, I forget what the name of it was. That was a great show. I mean, it was for pure wrestling. I tell everybody that's one of the best wrestling shows I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, now storyline,
yeah,
forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. But because seeing Swerve win that title should have dominated the headlines of pro wrestling.
Yeah, I agree.
It's an afterthought. Now, is that because Swerve doesn't have the it factor, which I don't agree with? I think he does. Or is it because Tony Khan and his riders, whoever they are, maybe it's just him or the Young Bucks,
which is
they're
horrible.
the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, the Young Bucks are one of the big problems with AEW. As much as some people may like watching them, they are a major problem. If I'm Tony Khan, I would cut all ties with them. I really would, but he won't.
There's something to say that Cody Rhodes will still not speak of the true reason why he left.
Yeah.
If he helped start a promotion to rival, I mean, I don't think he knew it was going to be capable of being a rival to WWE, but that's what it is, kind of. But for him to help build that promotion and then just up and leave, there had to be something behind the scenes.
And if you look at the way they did him toward the end, they took arguably the biggest name in wrestling at one time before he went to WWE. I mean, let's face it, before Cody went to WWE, he was monstrous on the indie scene.
Oh, yeah. Everyone knew him.
They took him and deteriorated him down to nothing in their company. And I'll tell you this, the person that you're going to see make the move was just a huge deal for them. And they took them down to nothing literally overnight. And now they're going to come to WWE and they're going to be a monster star. I promise you this. They will be a monster star in WWE. I mean, because they have, I'll say it's a female. She has everything that you need to be a star. What they thought Eva Marie was when they first brought her on, this girl has the talent.
Wow.
She has the looks like Eva Marie, but she also has the talent. So
is she does her name begin with the same letters that yours does? Doctor?
no,
No? Okay.
no, it's not her.
I say I looked it up while we were sitting there.
Oh,
No.
you're bad, Bobby. Can't even keep it a secret.
I didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Well, I am keeping it a secret.
That's horrible. All right, so let's get back on the right track. So your new book is available at Amazon, and you said all the retail stores, right?
Yeah, you
Barnes
can
and
get it
Noble.
online. Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Books a Million, Target, libraries. I'm
Now,
going to be doing some signings at Barnes and Noble coming up soon. So yeah, it's out there.
so let me ask you, since this is pretty much all hands on by you, I always heard that it's hard to get into those places like Target, and I mean, is your publisher, I guess, really pushing this, or is this all still you?
It's all me. I'm the publisher.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, what do they call it when
So
is there?
so essentially, what I had to do, I put my book out with a company called Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark is the biggest producer of books in the United States. And essentially, by going through them, they then outsource that book to any company that would want it. So
Oh,
essentially, all you would have to do is go to your local bookstore and say, hey, can you order this for me? They go on the computer, they order it, it goes right to them.
okay.
With Amazon, most bookstores won't do that because they view Amazon as a threat, which it is. I mean, I get it. And see, that's what I didn't realize when I did the first book. I had no idea about any of this. But once I got the first one out and I started talking to other authors and I joined some different groups to, have some questions answered for me, it kind of opened my eyes. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this next one, I'm going all the way with it. Like I want it everywhere. I want it available everywhere. Like, you can go on the St. Louis Public Library online and literally read the ebook online right now. So I
Wow.
got it on there. Yeah, and I just, like I said, I just got an email today from Barnes and Noble. We're setting up a signing at the store in Fenton. It might actually be the same Saturday as Backlash. That's what I'm kind of aiming for. I want to do it during the day because I
Oh
told them,
yeah.
I'm like, you're going to have a city full of wrestling fans that day. Why
Yeah.
not have a signing that day? So
Yeah.
I'm hoping it'll be on the 10th of May. If not, then it's going to be after Fan Fest.
Okay. I didn't know that there's so much behind even the size of the book that
Yeah,
makes a difference. I mean, that's
it's
crazy to me.
man, there's so much that I didn't know, and that's what I mean. If I could go back and redo the first one, I would do it so much differently than how I originally did because I just didn't know. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, a lot of people think, oh, you just you write the book, you type it up, and then you give it to somebody and they put it together for you. That's very, very rare that would happen. Um, the hardest part for me, besides marketing, I'm literally marketing every single day and evening on social media, was formatting the book. That was a giant pain in the ass. Um, I kid you not, I literally spent probably at least 40 to 50 hours trying to trying to format it, having to start all over with the formatting. Then
Yeah.
I'd get it almost done and I'd be like, oh shit, this doesn't look right, it's not adding up, it's not looking right. I'd have to start all over.
Oh wow.
It There were days when I came home and I was so pissed off from just staring at a computer screen literally all day long, trying to get a paragraph to look right. Man, it was stressful. But I got it exactly the way I want it finally. And it took me a while, but I was able to do it exactly how I wanted to.
Well, that's amazing. I hope it's a huge success since all the work that you've done. Not that you didn't do enough work on the first book. I really enjoyed the first book. So I'm kind of looking forward to the second one to see where you took it to.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because we had so much in common, but some of those guys I didn't know about until I read your book. And then all of a sudden it was like, they just appeared in my life somehow. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting on the second book, and I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your first one I read, I think it only took me like 2 days to read the whole thing.
Yeah, this one's only about 40 pages longer. So it's, again, I wanted to make it an easy read for everybody. I probably could have made it a little bit longer, but I felt good about clocking in right at around 150 pages. I thought that was a good mark. So because, when you get over 200, some people are kind of turned off from it. They don't want to take the time.
Oh, that's horrible.
They just get bored with it, and I get it. So I tried to make it, still get my point across, still get everyone's story across in detail, but keep it quick.
I guess it's kind of like the same instance that we find in the podcast world. If you keep a podcast down to 20 or 30 minutes, you'll keep more of an audience. But it's hard to tell any kind of stories or talk into detail about anything like tonight. I mean, we're already on almost an hour and a half, and so I guess it's kind of like that too. You're trying to keep the guys' attention. I guess the attention span is very small nowadays, which is horrible.
But to be honest, we have no intention of doing a half hour. There's no way we could. No
when
way.
I'm into a
We
book,
talk too much.
True.
We could start every half an hour, just redo another intro and split it into multiple episodes in a week.
Well, what I'm trying to say is when I'm into a book, I don't like to put it down. I take that book wherever I go. And I guess maybe it's a generational thing that more people have more things to do to spike their dopamine. So they don't take that book everywhere they need to go, or I don't know.
I don't think that's it. I think it's these.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, because I have a lot of students who still I will catch their head in a book, that's the one thing. I never get mad at students for reading because I think it's great to see a kid love to go to the library still. I tell you, I shed a tear the other day when I found out that they took the grant money from the SIUE library because our president said it didn't fit in with the U.S. Way of life anymore. I'm like,
oh wow,
come on, man, it's a library. Like we need those. Like we need educated people. I mean, come on.
What's weird about and watching YouTube, I watch a lot of people who are like-minded like me, and they're going back and they're buying the old DVDs, the old VHSs, even though nowadays you can just click a button on your remote and watch what you want to, but it's something about having it in your hand. You can do what you want with it, play it or whatever, but it's like we're losing a part of ourselves or our history because of that cell phone. Man,
absolutely.
I'm building more of a DVD collection than I have when growing up.
Sure.
And it's just picking up movies.
When you're growing up, DVDs weren't a thing.
VHS is the same thing to me. I still have a dual player that plays them both.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that there's something to be said about being able to have a copy of something in your possession. Like I still love to play video games, and my kids were just laughing at me the other day because I told them I had picked up MLB The Show, They're like, what do you mean picked up? I go, yeah, I went out and bought it. Oh, you don't download your games? I'm like, hell no. I want the physical copy. Like, because I'm
Right.
used to, as a kid, you take the Sega game over to your buddy's house, and you just, if one of you didn't have it, they'd bring it over. And so I'm still that way. I like the hard copy. And yeah, there's just something. I think the quality is still better. Like, I know people say, oh, the quality is so much better on streaming. I'm like, no, man, I like the DVD. I like the Blu-ray, especially if it's like a certain type of film like longer movies. Like any Tarantino movie, I always want the hard copy because it's just his style of filmmaking is, to me, it's unique. And I gotta have the hard copy to be able to. One, I like to hear his commentary on things. So to me, that stuff's still important.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, ask that person that likes streaming the games how good that quality is during a storm.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, the streaming of the games, I'm not a gamer, but what I hear is when we had the physical hard copy, we had everything about that game in our hand, in our hand. Nowadays, you have to download it, but to do anything extra or cool in the game, you got to buy all that.
Yeah,
even the hard copies, they had the microtransactions.
Yeah, because I want to get the new WWE game, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to buy any of the extras. Like I like to play sports games. That's all I play. Basketball, football, baseball. Other than that, I don't do any other gaming. Like, my students are always like, "Oh, you want to go play some Call of Duty online?" I'm like, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about, man. Like, I don't do that. Like, if you wanna play some Madden, all right, let's do it. But other than that, I'm not interested. So yeah, I just it's a different world now. Like, it amazes me that, when I think that I'm 43 and I can remember going up to the video store when I was a kid and renting WrestleMania 3 with the double cassette tape, and I tell my students about VCRs and they're like, what? And I'm like, you're a senior in high school and you don't know what a VCR is? And they're like, no. I'm like, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
I have a question for you real quick. You're going to the Fan Fest, right?
Yes.
Are you going to be doing interviews there, or are you going as a fan? Are you going media like us, or
So
me, not
I'm going to be promoting my book there, and then I if anyone is doing interviews, I definitely would be interested in doing that just for Review STL. Like I said, the Boogeyman's one guy I'd like to talk to. Matt Riddle, definitely, I'd like to talk to him. Kevin Von Erich, I know, is sometimes hard to talk to. He don't like to do interviews too much.
He does some short really quick too.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, last year I really wanted to talk with, or was that the year before Enzo was there? The one year Enzo was there, I really wanted to talk to him, and I never got a chance to, just because I was too busy doing other stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be mainly at my table, signing copies of the book and stuff like that. Greg Valentine's another person I think would be cool to talk to, so yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'll be hanging out. So I don't know what I'll be doing. I'll probably be talking to Bill after, honestly. Bill hung out around my table last year a lot because he likes dark chocolate, and my wife put out dark chocolate Hershey Kisses. So he was over there just bogarting them like crazy, man. And I met Bill at some WWE press stuff a few years earlier, so I always get a kick out of him. He cracks me up.
So
what are the prices going to be for your book?
I'm sorry, what?
I'm just saying, the bait to set out for your trap for him now.
Yes. Yes.
Finger traps. What are the prices going to be for your book? You're going to have ones that you sign for a different price as opposed to ones you're not going to sign, or is all of them going to sign?
That day, every book will be probably, I'm thinking $15 at the show. And I'll sign them. If someone buys one, I'll sign it. And if someone's got one, I'll sign it. I don't care. And I'll have some hardback probably available as well. Not many, just because they are pricey. Like, in order to make any profit really at all off a hardback, I got to charge at least $25 for one, because being color and, you know, hardcover, they're pricey to buy.
Yeah.
But I think it's something cool, you know, like people like to see everything in color, especially when you have a lot of photos. So
Yeah.
I decided to go ahead and give it a shot. So I'm really interested to see what it looks like this week when I get a copy.
You haven't got a copy of the hardback?
Yeah, not of the hardback because that's through Barnes and Noble. So,
Okay.
and actually, when I do the signing with Barnes and Noble, they're going to order the books for me.
Nice.
So I won't have to bring anything with me, which will be nice because usually I have like a roll-along suitcase full of books and banners and all that crap. So it'll be nice not having to lug that stuff around.
Yeah. So I think you need to do at least 2 more books. And I say this because I think we need the behind the scenes of the 2 books of your wrestling passion, the love for wrestling, and what got you to do the 2 books. I think that would be great to have. And then I think you need to do one with your weight loss journey for, you know, people to help them. But I'm also going to throw in, you said Randy Orton.
Yeah.
I normally sit down with Bob Orton. Normally, when the school was open, we're closed right now, but when the school was open that we would run, the Ace Academy, I would sit with Bob every, you know, two times a week, and as between the times you're coaching the kids, if they're taking a break or if they're not ready to go when we are, you know, me and him will sit down and talk, and the stories that he can tell are amazing. And I bet if you can do a book, it'd be like probably the first of a kind. If you can start off with Bob and end with Randy, I think to get both of their stories in one book would be awesome.
Yeah,
that
right.
and lay the ground, well, the railroad, lay the tracks, or maybe your biography on Randy.
Yeah,
It'll
you're
start
right.
somewhere.
I think Bob he'd be a great person to definitely write about. You know, I always wanted to write about Harley Race, and then he had passed away. So I was kind of, you know, disappointed when that happened because I always thought I'd get to really write a nice piece about his life, and never got to because I always thought he was more of a underappreciated wrestler. You know, being from the Midwest, he didn't get the publicity that a Ric Flair got. And I think Flair, he said the same thing. You know, he's mentioned that about Harley too. So, yeah, Bob would be a great person to write about. I'd definitely love to do that.
So I think with Harley, I think he got caught up not as a transitional heavyweight champion because he was 7 times, but I think in a generational gap he got caught up in because as soon as Ric Flair had the belt, that was a whole other new generation of wrestlers.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, his spot with the WWF at the time, where he came back as King Harley Race, really didn't do him any favors.
No.
And they didn't promote him like he was, like how WWF treated Ric Flair when he went up there. When he went up there, he was a god. The real world's champion is here now. Even though they had their own belt. You know, they declared him such a higher ranked wrestler. And they really dropped the ball between the Hogan and Ric Flair. We could probably talk forever and a day. Let me look. I really think we need to reach out to Bob, and because Bob will tell you if you ask him how was his career, he'll not. He'll just blow it off. Oh, you know, I had a great time. You know, friends. I did some things here and there. But if you go in there and say, "Hey, I just seen this match with you versus, you know, I'm just example, Roddy Piper, where you guys broke off of being a tag team and now you hated each other. And I just seen this," and he will be able to rattle that off to you so quick. But if you don't come to him with details, he's just like, oh, I was a wrestler.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I hate to say it because I love Bob, but he is getting up in the age,
Yeah.
and if we don't do something with Bob, I don't want him to turn out to be like Harley Race.
Well, if he's interested, you send him my way. I'd love to sit down and talk with him. I mean, it would be if he's down for it, it'd be a process. I mean, it would take several hours of talking,
Yeah. Yeah, you might
yeah.
have to pull it out of him, but
yeah. Well, I have no
me
problem doing that. I could get I could get him to start talking. That wouldn't be a problem.
Well, me and
yeah.
Herb actually talked about this before, that we needed to find him a writer, because his mind for the business, and even him telling Randy, I don't want you in the business. This business is not for young people. And then finally biting his tongue and letting Randy, try out. And then, the local legends here that actually helped train Randy before he went to, Florida, so it'd just be a great story. And just to get 2 generations of wrestlers, I think that would be an awesome book.
And to have those bookend stories would be awesome with the road stories in between. I'm not telling you how to do your book, Jeremy.
No, yeah, absolutely. And that's a shame that so many of those guys didn't get their due. You mentioned like Harley in WWF. I think they did the same thing with Dusty when they brought him over. I mean, that was a travesty to do what they did to him. Yeah,
I think
he made chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. It was not. I mean, hell, they look at what they were doing to Cody when he was young. I mean, he made it work. I mean, he made that gold dust gimmick work. I mean, looking back at it now, it's like, my God, that was stupid.
It was pretty stupid.
I get the idea they wanted him to tag team with his brother, and since he was Gold Dust, he wanted them to be Stardust and all that stuff. And I get that.
Stupid.
But you can't have another Gold Dust. Gold Dust was perfect, in a way. He was great.
I was never a fan of those gimmicks. I thought it was dumb.
All right. Well, we've been going for a long period.
For our figure segment.
Oh, sure. Do you want to stay? Okay. So normally we talk about what figures are coming out next, and then sometimes Bobby gets a box of stuff delivered to him as well. I don't know if you got that yet, but then I normally display out what I bought, for the week. So this new, it's not a new company, but it's an independent toy company, is putting out some more wrestlers this. I think they're mainly up for pre-order. But, kind of like how Matt Cardona has the major bendies and the big rubber guys, it seems like everyone's coming out with the LJN style of figures again, or even some of the Hasbros. But this company is called Latuni, and they just announced that they got 3 wrestlers that they've had them signed for a while because they come out with some smaller figures. But these particular 3, this is a Macho Man, and they have Legion of Doom that is going to be coming up for pre-order. I think right now you can pre-order the Macho Man, and then Legion of Doom is coming up. But the size of those are going to be like the talking Hasbros. Back in the day, they only made 2 of these guys. They made a Hulk Hogan and an Ultimate Warrior that had a pull string on the back, and they talked. But it was like a bigger version of the Hasbro action figure. So Latuni is trying to capitalize on being a little different than these other, because there's probably about 10 smaller independent figure companies that kind of I wouldn't say exploded, but they're now on the market. A lot of people getting the figures and realizing that it's actually great quality. But they're all mainly doing the LJN style, or they're doing the Hasbros. So Latuni is actually capitalizing kind of on the Hasbro's, but on a line that really didn't go anywhere for the WWF, which is that talking style. Now, I don't think these are going to talk, but it's going to be that same height. However,
I don't know if it's the
like,
picture, but the hands on that look massive compared to the rest of the body. I don't know if it's the picture or what.
well, I track these down. I love these things, and I never had them as a kid. But it did suck that they only had the 2 figures, because I like these big items, but only having the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, which was great. They didn't have any enemies to go against, or any bad guys or anything like that. Not that Macho Man is a bad guy, but he did his share of being a heel as well. Um, but yeah, so they're coming out with this Macho Man. I think, like I said, it's already out for pre-sale, and then pretty soon the Legion of Doom will be up for pre-sale. But those pictures that we've shown, and if you can show that picture again with all of them.
Thought you wanted to see Macho Man's butt again.
No, that's quite all right. So as you can tell, the smaller Macho Man in the middle, the bottom one, is about the same size as a Hasbro or a Bendy's, as WWF later put out. And then that second row is all the LJN styles. I don't know why they're doing a blue Macho Man. Really makes no sense to me, but I guess when you got the license to produce these wrestlers, you want to try to take as much advantage of the mold, because evidently the mold for each of these figures cost a lot of money. And right now with the tariffs in China, the wrestling figure companies already talked about how they're going to increase the prices on these figures.
That 175 for Domination wasn't the tariff price?
No,
For
it
those
was
two?
not the tariff price.
Oh, well, thanks.
So
Sorry,
right
that's too much. It's tariff.
now, not the Legion of Doom, Demolition, and the other 3 Macho Mans, they're around $49 each. The Andre the Giants that are back behind them, they're going for about $60. And just like Matt Cardona's and the Big Rubber guys, they too have the Andre the Giant where they did the Ultimate Warrior mask on. So you can either go and get it. Well, actually, you can't go through Major Bendy's anymore for that Andre the Giant because it was just a one-off. But you can still go to Latuni and get their version of Andre the Giant with the Warrior paint.
I like the Ultimate Giant, but that one just looks weird. So, yeah, it's going to be a no for me.
Yeah. I really originally, when I heard about these bigger styles, the Legion of Doom and Macho Man, thought, hell yeah, I'm going to put these in my collection. Because I like even the big weird ones that I got back here. We went over last week because I got most of these in last week. These were from Spain, and a very oddball wrestling figure. They're very rare. And they look so freaking crazy. Yeah, but they're awesome. I love them.
That's Chucky Child's Play toys right there. But that is. But look at that big Macho Man one. They actually have his alleged steroid veins in there popping out.
Oh, wrestlers
Far
don't
on
do
them.
steroids. What are you talking about?
I said
Said
alleged,
alleged.
so family can't sue, even though it's well known.
But maybe later in life, because he did blow up when he was in TNA and the later part of WCW. He went.
You can't be in your 40s and 50s and be stacked like that without taking a minimum of HGH. I mean, you can't.
No, that's saying your prayers and taking your vitamins. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure, London Figures for sale again, Jim.
I mean, that's what I got. All right, so they're the only ones that are coming out with something new. We already talked about the Demolition from major bendies or big rubber guys that you can already pre-order. They haven't shipped them out yet, but the pre-orders on those have already closed down, I believe. Let's see here. The TRT toy company, I think their pre-order ended this past Sunday to get the new Paul Wonderful and the Atom Bomb. So if you didn't get a hold of those, that now they are talking about if you didn't get those pre-orders in for the regular price, then the next time they open it up, say if they do a series 2 of those same figures and just swap the colors, those are probably going to be more because the tariffs will be added into theirs.
Only
So
200% now.
yeah, it's kind of crazy if you're not. I mean, they're talking about trying to find other distributors or other plants to actually make these figures to try to get them cheaper. Hopefully that doesn't come out with cheaper made product. But you know, sometimes you get what you get. But so that's the only toy company I wanted to talk about tonight. I did want to show off a couple things that I did purchase. One of them, Bobby, I had posted on Facebook about this kind of creature. Back in the early 2000s, WWE did a line for monster WWE wrestlers, and this was a monster Undertaker, I guess, as a vampire. So he's kind of cool. You know, if you didn't know this was the Undertaker, you know, by the package, I doubt you would recognize him as the Undertaker, but that was
I
kind of
didn't even know
cool.
they did a monster line.
Yeah, they actually did. So they did just like they did a Masters of the Universe crossover. You know, we show this one off. This is Macho Man that has the I forgot what it's called, but it crushes their shield when you hit it.
Yeah, the damaged, the actual damage one.
Yeah, but they also done other ones with zombies. They did zombie wrestlers where the action figures like had half of a leg or half of an arm, or they're all cut up and busted open. Oh,
I did know that one because I got my niece Paige for that one.
Paige, let me ask you since you're on here, Mike. What do you think about the Hall of Fame match that's going in this year? Bret Hart versus Stone Cold, and they're re-releasing the merch. So all those old shirts that had the bloody Stone Cold on it, and I think it actually said Bloodstone or something like that on the shirt. They're re-releasing that, and you know they're talking about this match a lot. What do you think about them introducing more blood into wrestling matches? Because you know for the longest time it was a big no-no. Vince McMahon didn't want it no more unless it was an accident. But with them talking about this match, in which was a very bloody match, and I always say this was a match that got me back into wrestling because I kind of fell off to the side where I kind of got out of the love of it, and then I guess it was maybe 2 weeks prior to this pay-per-view, I think I went over to someone's house and was watching it, and then that match right there got me hooked right back in. But what do you think about blood in wrestling? Is there room for it? Do you think they'll allow it more since they're talking about it right now?
I think if done right, yeah, absolutely. You know, I think some organizations can get too carried away with it. You know, AEW, I feel sometimes goes overboard. Um, but honestly, I I really enjoyed the Mariah May and Tony Storm match where they busted each other open. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
It added just because there was such a great story going up to it between them two that it expanded upon the hatred that they had for each other.
Yes.
The other night when Gunther busted open Jimmy, um, I thought that added Now, I kind of felt like Jay underplayed it somewhat, just sitting there. I know he was handcuffed, but I don't know if that was like my, a brother of mine or even a friend. I think I'd be going a little more nuts than he was.
Yeah.
And the terrible promo to follow it the next week.
Yes. Which further cemented the fact that this dude does not belong in a main event match for a title. But anyway, I thought it added to it. They had to do something to get people more invested, because, I mean, face it, the people who are on Jay's side are young kids. You needed something to get the grown audience to side with Jay more, even though I don't think it worked because of his crappy promo the following week. So I'm glad that they're letting blood come back, though. I really am. I think that if they do it right, it's awesome. And I'm hoping that we see some sort of blood in the triple threat match with Punk, Reigns, and Rollins. I think that we're at that point where somebody needs to get busted open,
Yes.
if not all three of them. So I'm hoping we see something at Mania with that, because there is a way you can do it and still make it to where it's not overboard, and it's gonna.
Yeah, they don't need to do it every
scare
show
kids.
or every pay-per-view, but just
Right.
where it counts.
Yes, absolutely. Because there are moments where it adds to it, and again,
Well,
you just have to be choosy about it.
even that particular match with Bret Hart and Stone Cold, they were told no blood,
Right.
and Bret was like, I think it's going to add something if we do it, and boy,
Yeah.
was he right, because without Austin losing that much blood to cause him to pass out from a sharpshooter, which normally I would not say, unless you broke his back, a sharpshooter is not going to make you pass out. Even if
Right.
you worked his leg the whole match like Bret did, it's the point that he was in a hold that he couldn't get out of, and he was losing all that blood that sold it. So, yeah, totally agree. I just wanted your viewpoint because a lot of people on the internet was talking about it, about, is this like, are they opening up another, not a new era, but they were against it for so long, and now that they're actually talking about it and selling merch that talks about it, if they were going to start allowing that again. And then, I actually totally forgot about the Gunther busting up open Jimmy. It did. I did say that ended perfectly. How they pictured it with Jay reaching out for his brother and just could not reach him as Gunther is holding his head, Jimmy's head out. So that I do think it ended perfect, but I actually totally forgot that they had blood in that match.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the only things I really remember about this feud is that, and I hate to be so critical of Jay. I really do. I don't like criticizing wrestlers. That's one thing I don't like to do is criticize athletes, because I look at it as they're doing something that I can't do. So why do I have the right to criticize them when I couldn't do anything that they're doing? But at the same time, it's like I felt like that was a miss because there was no feeling really from Jay other than to reach out.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt with this whole feud. It's like it's very forced, and it reminds me of when they were pushing Reigns years ago, and it's like the crowd just revolted.
Yeah.
And I think eventually it's going to be the same thing with Jay. The crowd just, I don't think we're going to have time to. I think it's going to be a quick, he's going to win the title, he's going to drop it. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if he drops it Monday after Mania. That's what I would personally do. Let him have his moment at Mania. Then Monday, you either have Gunther win it or you have somebody show up, and maybe it'll be CM Punk. I don't know. Somebody's going to beat him for that title, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I actually just forgot what I was going to say because I was listening. Dan.
Well, we're 2 hours in. So how far
Yeah.
did you guys want?
Well, let me just wrap up here. So Major Bendies, I got the new. Well, it's new to me, but it's been in their line for a while. Sabu, which is also retiring at WrestleMania week, also in Las Vegas, and we talked about that. Now he's going to be at our Fan Fest. Of course, he's not wrestling, but his last match is the week of WrestleMania. And then I also got this cool, also from the Major Bendies. Well, the big rubber guys. Let me pick up his 2x4. But I thought this was pretty cool. Yeah, so Jim Duggan, all USA
I
down,
like
got
that.
an American flag painted on his head, and you can't really get any better than that. I mean, that is. I still want the Andre the Giant with the Warrior paint, but this looks awesome. And I personally love Jim Duggan. I've met him so many times, and the last time we spoke, I show him a picture of like the first time I met him, and he goes, "I can't believe you were that young when I met you because I was all skinny and I had hair, uh, you know." And so we took another picture, and he autographed the first one, and he goes, when I come back, I want to autograph this one too." But Jim Duggan was an awesome guy to talk to. Um, and it just reminds me of the Harley Race story. I spoke about it before, but talking about Harley Race and having someone interview him for a book, it totally missed out because when he came in, he was in our shows. He'd come in probably about twice a year for multiple years until his passing. But one of his first times he came in, we have in our locker room, we have another little room that the talks get done at. So it's got a big table in that room, and he was in there by himself. None of the other wrestlers were in that room. I guess out of respect, maybe, or maybe they were just too shy to go in there and talk to him. But I went in there and I said, "Man, I've read so much stuff about you," and I started questioning him about his life. And then one of my favorite questions I asked him, I said, "What?" And it was a simple match. I mean, simple question. It was, "What was one of your favorite places to wrestle?" And you figure they probably get that often, favorite city to wrestle at and something like that. But his reply was Japan, and he said he loved it because um, it made you work, and you had to be a worker to work there because they were dead quiet. They cheered you as you walked in, but when you started the match, it was dead quiet. He said you could hear a pin drop. And the only way you knew if you did your job was at the end of the match, if they cheered you or booed you. And he said he loved that atmosphere, that he really had, if you're going in there as a baby, you really had to be the baby to get cheered at the end. Or if you're going in there as the heel, you really had to work. And he said that a lot of people of the new era, and this was back in the 90s when he was talking about it, he goes, the people nowadays don't know what it's like because you get that instant gratification if they're cheering for you for what you're doing right then and there. But if you're a worker, you should be able to work a whole match and not be able to listen to the crowd, but know you did it well because at the end of the match, they popped for you. And just stories like that is what I love to listen to and to talk to these legends. And like we said earlier, where some of them don't get their due. A lot of them are just now opening up where they're starting to do these fan fests and meet and greets because they still think, they can't talk. I was a heel for 30 years, so I shouldn't go to these fan fests and talk, but they're now finally opening it up, and we need to take advantage of that and get these guys' stories written down, or at least in a book or a video or something, and give them their props. And I'm kind of glad that our first night of our Fan Fest, which is May 16th and 17th, I'll just plug it out right there. Go to sicw.org for your tickets. But the first night of the Fan Fest is going to be a Q&A, and I love those because you can ask questions. Dave Melzer, right? Is it Dave or is it the? Help me out. Who's hosting it?
Bill
Apter.
Bill.
Bill Apter. I said the wrong one. Damn it. So Bill Apter is hosting it, and all the legends that are coming in on Friday night is going to be on the stage for it. So it's going to be a great time. I love these where you can ask these guys questions. Greg the Hammer Valentine, I really do think you need to interview him too because he is great. I worked with him, met him on before I worked, after I worked with him. He's a great guy. Taught me a valuable lesson in my wrestling career. And I'll just shoot it to you. You know, you go in there and you got to respect your veterans and you got to listen to what they say. And so I was young and dumb, and I went in there and asked him, "Sir, what would you like to do tonight?" And you know, and he wouldn't tell me at first. He goes, "Just give me a few, let me get dressed and all that stuff." So I leave, I come back. All right, sir. What would you like to do tonight? Have you had enough time? You know, just being nice and polite. And he rattled off a bunch of stuff, and I was like, okay. So me being new, I now leave him, and I'm trying to, you know, run it through my head, so I can, you know, one, get it down, and two, make it look good on my half. And we get in the ring, and we didn't do a fucking thing that he said. You know, he and it was a great match. I still loved it, but you know, he was just one of those things where you just follow my lead, and we're gonna have a great match. You know, and I was so young that I was like, no, I need to know what we're gonna do so I can do this, this, and this, and that. And it was a great lesson. And I love him for it. And I told him that story about it before, and he just laughed it off. You know, because me, I was probably just another guy that he had to wrestle that particular week before he moved on to another territory, you know. But I told him, I said, "You taught me this great lesson. I'll never forget it." And I try to teach that to my students. Sometimes it's just best to feel it out in the ring, and you know, leave all that stuff. Well, I got to do this, this, and this uh, to the side, you know. And I felt that personally with a match that I had a couple months ago, where it was a newer wrestler wanted to talk it all out, and to me it wasn't great. But then I wrestled him again, and we didn't. He stayed to one side, stayed to the other side, worked it out in the ring, and it was great, and I loved it. So it's just one of those things. But it was a lesson that Greg the Hammer Valentine taught me. But on that note, I think, yes, we have gone too long. We probably took way too much of your time. But I do appreciate you coming in. Hopefully, this is the #1 bestseller, and hopefully we get 2, maybe 3 more books out of you. It'll be great because I can already see it. I mean, I would be a buyer to find out what you had to do to get these 2 books made. I think that would be great. And because I'm a big fat guy and trying to lose weight myself, your inspiration of how you did it would help others besides me. So yeah, I'm predicting 3 more books out of you before you quit as being an author.
All right.
Oh, yeah. And one thing, the last time you were on here, Jeremy, Jim was the Classic champion. You're on here now, and Bobby's now the Classics champion.
Oh,
So
right on.
let's swap that.
Yeah, we did flip flop that belt, but yeah. So you'll stick around for the wrestling show Saturday, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm think I'm gonna get a room and stay there the whole weekend. That's my plan.
You know, yeah, it's only 40 minutes from my house, but I'm getting a room too because the first night, I tell you, everyone stays up, all the wrestlers knock a few back, and the stories come out, and that's like the best time to stick around,
Yeah.
you know.
I didn't
So,
stick around last year. I wish I would have.
oh
So
yeah, me
I
and
will be
Bobby,
Last
sticking
year
around
was
this
a
year.
blast.
Haku has been like a great friend.
Mhm.
And I mean, we go back to his room and drink in his room. And last year we stayed outside and drink in the parking lot the whole time. And the stuff that he was just telling us is just great. And I would recommend getting the hotel room and sticking around and pulling a seat up next to the bar and just listen. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And for some reason, all the wrestlers like to sing karaoke in the bar.
Every one of it.
Not this
one. I'm really interested to see how Sabu is, because he was the first pro wrestler I ever was supposed to interview, and it did not go well at all.
Oh, really? On his
Not
behalf?
at all. Well, it was on his behalf and on behalf of the young guy that was promoting it. The young guy's not around here anymore. He moved out to California.
Oh, okay.
But he was he's wrestled around here quite often, and he does stand-up comedy now.
I know.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yep. All right.
Mom always told me if I don't have anything nice to say, not to say anything.
Yep, I understand. All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on again. You're always a great guest. And Dan, we can talk for hours. So maybe in the third book, when you do that, we'll have you back on.
Yeah.
But if you like the content that you're hearing on YouTube or however you hear this podcast, please like, comment, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it, so that way they can get this content as well. We love doing this. We say it every week. We love doing this. We're not making any money off of it. We just like to get together with our friends, our colleagues, and telling stories and, giving you a little extra. But thank you again. You can buy your book, Amazon, anywhere you can buy a book. You'll be at the Fan Fest. So again, May 16th and 17th. It's got the picture right there. Get an autographed copy by us. What?
I think I said what you were saying at the same time. I was saying get it autographed at the Fan Fest.
Yes, get an autographed copy. And from everyone at the Squared Ring Podcast, thank you. And you guys have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Have a good night.